5 review. I'm just going to encourage all of you who really need breakthrough in your life to make sure you watch the week 5 video. I'll make sure to put that in the links. So, biggest transformation, we just completed the week 5. This was a really, really good week for me on a lot of different levels. Last week, I had a talking to about being okay with sticking with plan A, because I was like, oh, I need to be on plan B in this workout, and I'm working out more than everybody. And, God put me in this to teach me about discipline and being obedient, because for so many years I haven't worked for anyone else. I've had a very cushy life, and I really have struggled with follow through too, probably for a long, long time. So I had decided on Sunday I would start like a 3-day cleanse. So I think I did that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and that was really good. That was on the scale, I think I did break a little plateau, but also just to show me like, I felt fine, and I wasn't eating a whole lot of food. I don't know how many calories it was. It was probably closer to 1,200 than 1,500. And I felt really good. So then the next day I was going to just do vegetables, but I think I had chicken, and then I have had salmon, and then I made turkey, this like turkey taco meat. But the last day, with the challenge on the last day, we had to be right on point, because I was slowly moving into my containers. I wasn't eating all my containers after the cleanse, because I was like, oh, well, I'll gain weight. But when I got back up to the containers, that was my best day. I'll have to show you some pictures too of why it was such a good day. We had the challenge, and hopefully she's shown that in the video. So the one challenge, we had a couple of challenges this week, but the one challenge was, we had the Nutella, and it was, there was a lot of lessons learned on that. Maybe I'll do a different video, but about self-discipline, what really stuck with me was Carmen's lecture about self-discipline, and how she would literally, it's a self-discipline about making a plan and sticking to it, right? So, and then these words, first you form your habits, and then your habits form you. And what habits had I had? I'd have habits of overeating, not being on a portion, eating late at night, of eating for emotional reasons, all of these reasons. So I was like, all right, I'm going to practice self-discipline. And I know my family ate things that I liked around me, but I really wanted to go on a date, and I had the opportunity to do that on Saturday. So Saturday's right before, our weigh-in on Sunday. And I said, okay, and our challenge was to eat all our containers this day. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I planned it out. I stuck to the plan, and I made sure, because my husband and I weren't going to go out till like 5:30, that I actually had finished all my containers. I knew I couldn't trust myself, and I knew I wouldn't get the best results if I ate after 6. So I had the most filling and wonderful foods prior to even 4:30. And I was satisfied. I was really, really satisfied. So when I sat across from him at this Italian beautiful restaurant, and he had like the pan bread with the dipping, olive oil, and the fried zucchini with a horseradish sauce, and this delicious looking lasagna. Now, my mouth did water. I did notice my mouth watered, but I was fine, like mentally, physically, and that's because I had such satisfying food. It's not like I was like overstuffed or overfull. I ate out of what I was supposed to eat that day, and I was fine. And that was a great, great lesson. Digging into the triggers this week, why do I personally, and maybe you can relate to some of these too. So I will eat either, bad food, and I know it's bad for me, and I always call myself out on it. So one of the things I've noticed, because I am in the health professional, is like I say, oh, I just ate this bag of cookies, or you know what I mean? Like feeling like if I announce it, whether on social media or to my family or whatever, that it's okay, right? Because I've confessed it or something. Or, you know, I don't know, but that was just kind of weird. So triggers for me too are sleep. If I don't get enough sleep, I will tend to be hungrier because I'm tired in the middle of the day, and that's when I get those cravings. Some of the triggers too is people's emotions who are around me, people that are the closest. Like if they're like really strung high or really stressed out, I like kind of am empathetic to that, and that like throws me off and I want to eat or binge. Um, okay, one of the one of the challenges this week with the burpee challenge is that I worked my butt off, not doing burpees, but actually getting other people to do it. So I went a long period of time without eating. And that is my MO. Like, being a workaholic and stuff too, is like I would go long periods of time, then I would come home and I would just eat everything because I had to ground myself and get off of this adrenaline high, right? So carbohydrates kind of like lull us to sleep. And so I didn't do that night. I just, ate my food and stuff too. But, you know, I always remember like being starving and then doing events, driving to teach classes and stuff, and probably not eating enough food, and then being done and stopping at the McDonald's and drive through and getting, fish sandwich, French fries, large fry, maybe a milkshake, and of course a sundae. And I remember that. And I remember this one time my gallbladder was so mad at me, and I remember throwing up that night, but I used that food. It wasn't necessarily that I used that food to like ground me, to get me off this. And because people, and you kind of will see that in the biggest transformation this week, people were scary to me. People took a lot of my energy. Anyway, taking care of other people. I tend not to take care of myself, so that'll lead me, or I will use food to like help deal with that. Another trigger is putting too much in my day, being over capacity. Holidays and celebrations, when I start to get back into sugar, I do have a really hard time making a hard stop of that. Restaurants, cooking. Cooking is a trigger for me because I will eat a lot of food. The kids not eating all of their food. COVID was a big weight gain time for me. I had just, before COVID, I had been working on releasing weight, and I think I was down maybe 20 pounds, 15 pounds, something like that. And COVID, watching the news or watching the press conferences every day, and just the emotions and the emotions in our house, and what my husband and I emotionally were going through, all of a sudden being together again every day, and just him really focused on watching the news. So I got into that, and that really just like stressed me and made me stressy. And then of course, okay, well, we're home, so let's get bagels once a week. And you think that wouldn't be a weight gainer, or we would eat out probably once or twice a week, or get takeout, take in. But just the amounts of food that we ate, and even healthy food. So, and I don't know if I ever shared this too, but during COVID, I would be a driver for this church who would get overstock from Trader Joe's. So foods that were going to go expire in a couple of days, or misshapen fruit or things like that. So my girlfriend couldn't do it, so I started doing it. So about once a week for probably 6 weeks or so, I would have tons of healthy food. And I dispersed a bunch, but there was a lot. And then I was like, oh, I don't want it to go to waste. So I'd make soups. I make all these things. And the breads, all the breads that we got, these amazing Trader Joe's breads that they would make. I mean, it was just, I was eating a lot of, all of us were, because we didn't want it to go to waste, right? And I don't know if that, not wasting food, I mean, my husband really has it from his side of the family and not having a lot of money. And I know there was a season when I grew up that we didn't have a lot of money. Like we ate cereal and macaroni and cheese, but just about every day, to the point that I got so sick of macaroni and cheese I couldn't eat it in my 20s. I would make me sick to my stomach. But what's the point I was making with this? But not wanting to waste that food, not letting food go bad, and I think still to a point. So this week, one of the changes was like the kids hadn't eaten, the crust of their thing or part of their burrito or things like that. And normally I would eat those things, and that would just be more and more calories that I really didn't need. And this week I threw those things away. And even my husband this week was good with that, right? Because he's making some transitions too. So that was kind of my week 5 recap, is really kind of digging deep into my triggers. Of course, the exercise you saw in that video, which was really hard, but really good. I think last week we talked about some of my bad habits too, and understanding that. And I'll just go through these again in case I didn't. But, my poor habits, lack of follow through, starting and stopping. And Carmen today too, she talked about when you're doing that in weight loss, and that's been a pattern of mine too, but mostly because of self-sabotage, but why I don't follow through. But when you start and stop something in weight loss, if I were to do good and then have, a cheat day, I'm basically losing ground. So every week I would be losing ground. So in just a couple of weeks, I could be 6 weeks behind. Does that make sense? So to wrap your head around how can we all lose weight so quickly, it's because we're not being good most of the time. We are being good all of the time. And when we're not, it shows up, right? If my maintenance is 15 to 1800 calories and I take myself to 12 to 1500 calories, that's a deficit of about 300 calories a week. And now I add my exercise on top of that. So I am going to lose 1, 2, 3 pounds a week. It's just science, right? It's just science. So that was a really good thing. Oh, and maybe I didn't recap. I'm sorry, because I'm still kind of raw from today. I didn't recap this, but following Carmen's directions and how she talked about the gray zone and how she really just got us into that space of, hey, you're going to be okay not having that extra protein. And I was able to really see that and oh, she's right. I do feel full. I do feel good, and it felt so good. Not only did I follow the directions, but I got the results on the scale, right? So this week's scale number was the greatest, of all the weeks that I've had thus far. So yeah. So that is good. So my focus for next week, I still have to think about that. I think I've found some really good foods that I do like. I just did an allergy video. We'll link that at the end of this. Food sensitivity. I got my food sensitivities. So I'm going to focus on, I do need to get back to getting more sleep. I'm doing almost 1.5 gallons of water every day. So that is amazing. I was struggling to get 64 ounces in a day, and I'm doing almost 1.5 gallons. So that's really good. I'm going to stay on point. I'm going to keep my carbs in the morning, probably doing the steel cut oats and the blueberries. I mean, in the earlier part of the day, not at night. Plan just a little bit better. I'm on track for my exercise this week. So sleep will be my biggest thing. And what was that other thing that I was thinking about? Continue journaling, continue like digging deep. I think will be important. And really looking at my food sensitivity chart, staying away from the eggs and some of the things that I was sensitive to. But definitely go check that video out. It's really interesting, and you can definitely learn more too about your food sensitivities and what you need to stay away from for a period of time. All right, thanks guys for watching. Please like this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And definitely go check some of those other videos out. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.